Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnur Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shruti Smriti Purana Namalayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankarupena Machittam Pankikritam Abhudhyaya Kinkariyasya Samaya Shankaracharyamashreye. Namaste. This is the third session. We are going to record, we are going to talk about the Dakshinamurti Shloka, Dakshinamurti Ashtaka Shlokas 2 and 3. We have in the last recordings completed the overall introduction to the whole topic and the first shloka. We are going to start the topic of the second shloka. In the second shloka, we have this topic which is considered to be the topic of how is this Sri Guru Tattva the cause of the entire universe? The cause of the universe. The cause of the universe means what? It is the material cause of the universe. It is necessary to understand that there is nothing other than that Guru Tattva that exists anywhere in the world. That is what it means by saying it is the material cause of the universe. The shloka starts with this four-line shloka, four padas. Bījasyantarivankuro jagadidam prang nirvikalpam punaha Māyā kalpita desha kala kalana vaichitriya chitrikritam Māyāvīva vijrambhayatyapi mahayogi vayasvechaya Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Again, there is this refrain that's in the fourth pada, the fourth line of the shloka that says Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. This refrain continues as a pallavi from shloka 1 to shloka 9 of the 10 shlokas. Though in the first shloka we have established that the non-dual self has been shown as the one that is showing up as the world, the one that is the Sri Guru Tattva, which is not different from the Atma Tattva, that is the own self, and also not different from the Tattva of the Lord, who is there as the Lord of the universe. It is one and the same, and that is showing up as the world, showing up as the Jiva, the transmigratory the person, as well as the Ishvara, the Lord, the same Tattva, one and only one. The question arises now as to how this universe came into being. Into being means what? You have an assumption that this world exists in reality, or it appears. How did it come about? How did it come about means what? What is the source of this? What is the root cause of this? In order to answer that question, it is necessary to continue the dialogue in the Dakshinamurti Stotram in this second stanza that gives a series of themes using examples, illustrations that are very familiar to us. So we talk about the root cause of the universe here in this. Root cause means what? For any object to be existent, there has to be a previous state that is called the causal state. The causal state will have no manifestations of the diversities that are there in the effect state. The example given is that of a seed. A seed sprouts into a sprout, then it grows into a plant. It grows with the branches and all of these things into a tree. The tree bears flowers, the flowers bear fruit, and the fruit continues to give another seed. The seed is something that is the root cause or the previous state of the big tree. What do you mean by that? If you plant a mango seed on the ground and put water and necessary and ingredients for that, it will sprout. The sprout grows into a plant and a tree. A mango seed will only give you a mango tree. Whereas if you plant an orange tree, the orange seed is planted into the ground, it will only result in an orange tree. Did the orange tree or the mango tree exist in the mango seed? The answer is a yes and a no. How is it? If there was always a mango seed that is giving rise to a mango tree, there must be something in the seed that corresponds to the next state, that is the tree state of the mango tree, in a subtle form in the seed. If you cut open the seed by doing a dissection, if you use an electron microscope or an ordinary microscope and say, is there something that is a small shape of a tree, that you don't find the tree inside that seed. Therefore, it is not in a form that is visible. It is subtle. The ingredients that are necessary to have as it becomes a tree is ingrained in the seed. It's obvious examples like that of a human being. When the embryo grows, let's look at my hand. This right hand has got 5 fingers. How does it show that it has to have 5 fingers when the embryo is there? Do you see 5 fingers in the embryo when you expand it, zoom out? No. There must be some program, some ingredient that is there in the seed that is in subtle form that represents the form that is going to take when it takes effect as a tree. Similar example is given to that of this universe. Why are the people in the modern science, even in the Oriental science, in Vedanta, why are they going after the root cause of the universe? Just give it a thought. Why look at the root cause of the universe? You see, everything is fine. You have variety, thousands of varieties. The answer is like this. You want to understand the universe, because if you understand knowledge of the universe, you can get control over it. You can navigate in such a way that the troubles that come from the universe can be avoided. You can get more happiness from it when you know what this universe is. If you want to know what this universe is in its diverse form, there is millions of varieties. You cannot end up examining millions of varieties. So the thought process is that there was a previous state of this variegated universe that was less complex, less simpler, and had no complications like the variety that you see here. And if I know that original state of this world and then start from that to derive this new world, I would have understood everything. This is the root cause analysis. And the root cause of the root cause analysis is to know about the universe. Now, when you apply it to this universe, you can never go back in time. Can you ever go back in time in an ordinary human way? Yogis can do it, maybe, I don't know. So everything that is connected with the foundation of the universe, the root cause of the universe, is founded on inference. Inference means what? You have to back calculate from what you see that there should have been a cause that was a cause of this current situation. And therefore, you use your back calculation and say, by this calculation, this should be the previous state of the universe. Nobody has seen the origination of the universe, because what did universe contain when it started? It did not contain time, it did not contain space, let alone all these human beings and me and you and all that. Even time and space were created at the creation time. That's even modern science is saying so. And this creation has happened over and over and over again a number of times in a cyclic manner. It's not the first creation. That is what even the scientists believe. If that is the case, let's look at the simplest case of a tree. What we have seen is we have seen this tree in various shades or varieties of states. We have seen the tree when it is a sapling. We have seen the tree when it was breaking up into a sprout. We have seen the seed that was put into the ground, watered, and we have seen that coming up as a sprout. When you have seen that whole thing, that is used as an illustration. Illustration means what? Drishtanta. When you say, when you want to communicate something to somebody, you say the one that you want to talk about is similar to what you have already seen. The similar to is the seed, Drishtanta. So if you look at the seed contains the tree in a subtle form, not in the physical form. Similarly, for the world to come out in its variegated variety, speciality, multiplicity of colors, multiplicity of shades, different types of human beings and species, that should have come from a subtle form which is called the seed, the bija. So, Jagat is what is this variegated, this universe that is appealing, it is appearing as an existing entity outside of me, and it is represented by this pot, this cloth, this mobile, this human being, this Ravi. All of these people, all of these things are things that are called Jagat. When you say this is not having the same kind of variety that is there in the effect, that is not there in, it's not there in the seed, it means that the same effect is programmed into the seed in a subtle form. It cannot be cut open and see in showed like a tree, I told you. Therefore, how did this come about? This came about from that creator. That creator is that seed in which he had all the ingredients of what the universe should become in the final stage. So, what made this change happen from the creator? That is, in the previous stanza, what shloka, what did we see? That Ishvara, the Guru, and the Self is Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa, the Sat Swarupa that always exists. So, if that is the case, if there is one and only one entity before creation, how did this creation happen? In the world, how have we seen creation happen? The carpenter comes and with barehanded and say, Sir, Swami, what do you want? I want 2 windows. Go do windows. Wait, I'll get wood. Then the wood comes. Then I said, wait, I'll get my chisel and topada and everything, that is the grinding machine, the screwdriver and everything he brings. So wherever we have seen effect happening, we have seen the creator, which he works along with the material cause, that is the wood. And the wood, when he works on the wood, he needs the instruments. What did the Lord have apart from himself, which is the material cause? What Viveka Deepthi refers to is there was nothing else other than that oneself. He himself is the material cause as well as the efficient cause. What do you mean by efficient cause? Here, in the example of the carpenter, the wood is the material cause, the carpenter is the efficient cause, the person who does it. In the case of Jagat, he is the same, the one and only one, the material cause and the efficient cause being one and only one, that is himself. If there was only one entity that is always Sat, Chit, Ananda Swarupa, how did it become something else different from that? If a gold is used to make ornaments, all ornaments must be similar to gold. There rises a question saying, if it was that Ananda Swarupa that is the cause of this universe, why am I seeing sorrow? Why am I seeing anger? Why am I seeing differences between different people? Is he so cruel? And if sorrow would have come from Ananda, I cannot appreciate it. For which there is a necessity to understand something called delusory power called Māyā. Māyā is that by which a person gets deluded. A deluded person looks at an object and looks at it like something else instead of what it really is. ordinary sense of delusion, I'll give you an example of the snake rope snake. The person looks at a rope that is lying on the ground. Because of the dim light and various things that are there surrounding that environment, he mistakes it for a snake. Mistaking it for a snake means what? He actually experiences the effect as if the snake was there, but the snake was not there. That is called a delusion. That is called Bhranti. Now, if you look at the entire universe, there has to be something that is in addition to this pure Satchit consciousness, Satchit Ananda, that is necessary in order to make this variegated universe. And that preposition, that is Anyatha Anupapatya, if you cannot accept anything called Māyā, you cannot explain or account for the creation of this variegated universe that has got happiness, sorrow, anger, trust, jealousy, all of those things. So, how did this Lord create this universe? There are two illustrations that are given. When there is something that is shown which is not there, there are two ways that can be shown. One is that we have seen a magician. Who is a magician? Magician, uses some props. Props means what? He uses some instruments, some tools and things like that. He also uses his assistant. All of these things are used to show something which is not there or differently, the same thing differently. So you get excited because you don't expect it to be there. Because something that you don't imagine will be there will be seen physically in your eyes as if. The magician is that person who is in control of the magic, whereas the people who are in the spectators, the audience, are under the spell of his magic. That's the difference. The magician is not deluded by his own magic. The people who are looking at it are deluded by his magic. Like that, we, the transmigratory existent persons called Jiva, are deluded by this power of Māyā, power of magic, which is like a magician. And because of that, that which is single, that which is uniform, that which is homogeneous and isotropic gets shown as variegated. It has got multiple parts, it has got changes that are happening, and that is what is going to be seen as this universe. There is another example that is given, which is even more closer to what is happening in the real world, and that is that of a yogi. While a magician uses props, certain things that are called tips and tricks and tools of the trade, and without that he cannot do magic. He has to show something in place of another thing by using the arrangement that he has. This is called props. This is called apparatus, instruments. There is another example where we have seen that in the Puranas, we have seen that where a yogi, Mahayogi, a yogi can create objects without anything. By just the wish, a wish of his can actually make creation happen. Vishwamitra created another heaven, another world. We have seen that thing in the universe. Even today we have seen, if you go and then observe the life history of Sadashiva Brahmendra, you will see such instances where by the very wish he would make things happen, create things happen, which is not there. Now, it appears like it is there for a person who is deluded, and he goes through that in the universe. So, who is the one and only one who is the cause of the universe? The one who existed before in a subtle form. And we saw in the previous shloka that there was nothing else other than this one consciousness, existence, consciousness, and bliss that existed before. So, how can there be anything else other than that if the person who is doing this magic is also existence, consciousness, bliss? Then there is no way he can make anything else without the use of material. So, we have to assume that there is a spanda. There is a spanda, that means what? Creation happens from that homogeneous and isotropic, changeless entity into something that is changing like the seed and the sprout and other things. And that is created by the effect of magic called Māyā, either as an example of a magician or like a yogi who doesn't require any props. The Lord is like the yogi, Mahayogi. That means by mere wish, by mere thought, he can create things for others. So we can understand that there is this whole universe has been created by this entity. When you say an object is made out of a root cause, material cause, there has to be something in the material cause that is showing up in the effect. What is the source of this world? Sat Chit Ananda type of material cause. Now the question I have already raised is, but we don't see one and only Sat Chit Ananda in the effect. If it had been so, there would be no difference between the cause and effect. Therefore, there is something that is changing in addition to the Satchitananda that is already there. There is something else that is called Māyā that creates delusion, and that creates the identity of oneself as delimited. Though one is infinite, this Māyā shows identity with what is shown as the body, the mind, the intellect, and other things. Therefore, it is showing as delimited. Delimited means what? The original size and shape of that is infinity. When it is deluded, it is assumed to be identified with something smaller. What are the things that you can identify with as me, that is smaller than the whole? Like you say, what is my date of birth? It is so and so, so and so, which means that the date of birth is identified with the body. The body is the one that you say was born. Even that was not born because 9 months before the date of birth, you existed in the mother's womb. That's why the mother was going to your prenatal checkup for 9 months. But let us assume that on the day of birth, you were born and that you came into being outside of the mother's womb on that day. Now, when this has to happen, the same things that are there in the mother's body is there in the child's body. Similarly, when there is an ornament that is made out of gold, the gold qualities are there in the ornament. When the world is made out of the Satchidananda Swarupa, there should have been Satchidananda in the world also, but we don't see. The answer by Viveka Deepthi is yes, there is, and there is only Satchidananda in the world. How? We are seeing so many things that are negative. That is why we have come to this workshop. So, there has to be a reason why we are getting deluded. How do you understand this delusion? Maya kalpita desha kala kalana vaichitriya chitri kritam. Starting from time, starting from space. What is time? The time, according to Viveka Deepthi, according to the Upanishads, says the connection between the unchanging original reality, that is one and only one consciousness, and what we call as the objective world, Chit Achit Sambandha, is called Kala. Similarly, what is space? Delimitation of space. Delimitation of space means what? There is a left side, there is a right side, there is a top, there is a bottom, there is only India, there is somebody else. Therefore, all of these things have delimitations. All of these things got created by the Creator. Now, the manifestation, that is important. When you say it was in the seed form, the tree existed in the seed in an unmanifested form. Unmanifested means what? It is not showing up explicitly in the tree form, but it had the subtle form that is there as a power, the latent power to become a tree. Similarly, that which is made into a world is there in subtle form in the combination of this Maya, that's the deluding power, and the consciousness, without which nothing else could have happened. That is a single point of obvious existence, consciousness, and bliss, which you cannot avoid. In addition to that, you need something called the deluding power of Maya that makes this universe happen, and that behind this deluding power, that who is the person who has got the deluding power of Maya under his control, not under the spell of Maya, He is this Sadguru, he is this Ishvara. Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. There are certain other questions that come up. So, what are the questions that are come up? Why did this person, this so-called Lord, create the universe? Why did he want to create trouble for me, sorrow for me? He would have been, we would have been, I would have been very happy if he had not created this world. What is the purpose? Don't you get that question? If there is sorrow in the world, if there is happiness in the world, mixture, why would he be cantankerous? Why would he be so bad natured to create sorrow in the world? The answer is not in this that he wanted to create sorrow in the world. There has to be a causal effect that we have to trace this to. The causal effect, the cause and effect relationship to this so-called experience of this sorrow and also bliss in the world is traceable to something that is related to our own existence in the past. We'll see that the person, a young boy, has been born in a rich family with all beautiful uh, looks. He's got very healthy features. There's another boy who's been born in a very lowly, a poor family, maybe with a lot of health problems and other things. Why would God do this partiality between the two? The answer to this is given in the Upanishads as well as in Viveka Deepthi, that says the answer lies in the previous state of existence of these two. This person, because he has done something good, there is an effect of something good, which is the happiness in this guy. The other guy would have done something bad in the previous state. The result of that is being enforced on the current state, that is unhappiness in whatever form. Now, you can argue that it is all by arbitrary, random. All of you youth, you know that the theory based on accidents, theory based on random, it means that you are in a state of ignorance. When do you say it is an accident? It's an accident when you don't know the preconditions prevailing under the circumstances in which the incident happened. You say it is an accident. The scientific investigators who understand logic do not believe in theory based on randomness or theory based on accident. So there has to be a causal condition that related to this effect that is in this condition, and that is called karma. What is karma? Karma is a very simple term. Everybody uses this term karma, but in simple terms, it means there must have been a previous state of existence prior to this, wherein you have uh, attributed, you have acquired, or you have done certain things, the result of which you are reaping, and therefore the Ishvara or the Lord is not the differentiator. You are the differentiator of this difference. Let's talk about why this world got created. That is the question that I had raised a few seconds back. The world got created for what purpose? For whose joy? For whose happiness? Is it for the uh, consumption of the Lord that He created this world? Is it because He wanted to enjoy, he had to undergo the pleasures and sorrows of life that He created this world? The answer again lies in the shloka. It is the differences in the way in which you have all of these people. If you accept that there are many people, many jivas, the collective karma of all these people are responsible for this world. Not that it is Ishvara's intention to do it this way or that way. Just as you put a mango seed will come. You put a poisonous plant seed next to it. The same the showers, the rain comes on both the seeds. One comes with a mango tree and gives mango flowers, mango fruits, and mango fragrance. Next to that is a tree that comes in the poisonous seed. The poisonous seed comes up, the poisonous flowers, poisonous fruits, poisonous material comes out of that. Is that the problem about the rain? Ishvara is equated to that rain. He equally provides shelter and combination and growth for both these plants. If this seed that contained poisonous material, it had got the subtle property of its becoming a poisonous fruit, is there in this under the same rain, it also grows. Therefore, differences in the world are not to be attributed to the Lord, like not to be attributed to the rain, but it has to be attributed to the previous conditions in which it is subtle ingrained in that. That is the root cause. And also, this is not something that Ishvara would want to create if there was no person who had a necessity for exhausting his karma. Because of the nature of the creation is attributed to one's own previous condition, there the Ishvara creates the environment for you to enjoy or suffer based on your package of karma that has been given to you. And it is mentioned that if a question is asked, if that is so, does the creator have any independent will, independent control? Does he have swatantriya to create this world, or is he all bound by the karma of the people in this world? The question is answered saying Ishvara is always swatantra. There is no way you can remove the swatantriya of Ishvara. He, in fact, is the one who says how your karma should be packaged in order to go and take a next birth. He also has the power to create, but he uses certain rules that are person to person dependent, saying that for this person, for this karma, give this result. He does not change that. He does not do in one creation, he does it one way, in another creation, he does it another way. He does not do that. He is very true. He in fact is true to what you have actually acquired. So, just as the gold that came from the ornament that came from gold has gold properties, does the world have properties of the originator? Does this question not arise? Or is it completely lost? Satchidananda Swarupa, for which Viveka Deepthi says, no, it continues to exist. How does it continue to exist? We have seen by diversity. What is the experience that you get in the world? The book is, the paper is, the pot is, the camera is. What is this isness? That is Sat. Any object that exists has to have that existentialism in it. That existence of the object is not of its own, but it comes from the existence of the originator. That is the single one person that I have told. That is there in the previous shloka. How about the Chaitanya Swarupa? We have, take the simpler example. There are many examples that you can give. Take the example of a body, human body. In the last shloka, you said that body is not conscious, is not consciousness. It is inert. It operates through the instruction of the prana. Prana operates through the instruction of the mind. Mind is controlled by the intellect. Everything operates because there is the presence, sanidhya of the Chaitanya Swarupa. Otherwise, it will be like a dead body. All that is fine. Now, how does this person look at the body? He feels that the body is conscious. I can see through the body. I can see, hear, smell, touch, uh, everything in the body. Therefore, the body is conscious. For that, the answer is that the body is the one that is appearing conscious because the consciousness is reflected in that body. There are many theories. One of the theories goes about categorizing this body into 5 layers. They are called panchakoshas. Body is one of the layers. It's made up of food, etc. Physical body. Physical body is made up of your hands, feet, etc. It's got skin, bones, uh, blood, etc., etc. That is there in the body. Now, if you say this is me, how do you get to this Atma Swarupa in the body? Annamayam Atma, you say. How do you get that that I-ness in the body? That is because of delusion. This delusion is the first power that makes the object appear as oneself, where that I-ness is not there. When you say, I am the observer and that is the observed, I am not the observed. I am the observer. There is observer observed difference. But when I see this body as an observed, I know that that's not me. It's mine, maybe. But when I don't realize that, when I say I'm coming, when you say I'm going, I'm sitting, you have identified with the body. And when you say I'm actually going about, moving about, this body is considered to have sentient properties. The body itself is not having sentient property, but the sentientness of the body is derived from the sentientness, Chaitanya, of that one single entity, of which this is just a reflection. I've shown you that in the previous stanza that the world appears like a reflection. So the Chaitanya Swarupa that is inside is showing as Chaitanya Swarupa in the body, and that I, the true Aham, the I that is pointing to the Atmaswarupa, that is the soul, which is not with the variegated form, is transforming it into the I-ness in the body, I-ness in the sensors, I-ness in the mind, I-ness in the intellect. So, all of these things have to be gotten rid of if you have to realize your true nature of I. That the true nature of I is the Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. There is no question of I am, etc., etc. Even that ego is not there. So, if if that is so, okay, Sat is fine. Everything exists in the world. Therefore, it derives its existence from the original Chaitanya. It is appearing. Therefore, it derives its existence from the original Chaitanya Swarupa, that is so-called light I had mentioned. How about Ananda? Ananda is not seen in the world. Ananda is seen in some places. Ananda is not seen in another places. How do you explain that? Means because of the problem in the reflector, because of the problem in the mind, that aspect of that originator that's called Ananda is not superimposed on this. If you make your mind, that is the reflector, clean, Antahkarana clean, it is guaranteed. Viveka Deepthi shows you that Ananda reflects in its full glory. So, what is it that is the impediment to showing the Ananda Swarupa? It is like if if you see a reflection in a mirror, the reflection in the mirror, the image is not only showing the original, it also shows the dirt on the mirror. It attributes it to the image. The dirt on the mirror has got a partiality, it takes the side of the image. That is what is happening when your mind is not pure. It shows up as not Ananda, but Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, etc. etc. Outside of this discussion, for a very few minutes, I want to discuss one aspect, saying that all of these things, are they really coming from the original true nature of Satchidananda, or is it different? What are we talking about? Let's take the case of the very example of desire. Desire means what? I am limited. I'm assuming that I'm limited. I have an object that is different from me, that is not me. I don't have it. That object is a source of happiness. Therefore, I want it. What is the root cause? Where did this spring from? If you see this karma, it is because you are already infinite, and because of this deluded power of Maya, it is showing that you are limited. You cannot tolerate it for a moment not being infinite. That is the cause of greed. That is the cause of desire. So it springs from your Atma Bhava. Similarly, anything that has got to do with Krodha. Krodha means what? Anything that comes in the way of me not being Brahmaswarupa, not being all pervasive, you have an effect on that person, non-entity. You cannot tolerate not being your true nature of infinite consciousness bliss. Therefore, all of these negative tendencies also come from the root cause of Satchidananda, is what it says. It's not in this particular example of this world as well, but I just thought I should mention it to you. Now, There are people, there are many people, like there are sentient entities, me, my wife, my son, my friends, and all of those things. If there was one and only one entity, how is it that it's becoming more than one entity? Are there really more than one sentient entities in the world? In which case, you lose the concept of that identity, oneness in all, for which it says all of the things that appear as externally to you, and you have a point of sentientness in that. It is like that in a dream. The dream example, if you analyze what happens, in the dream there were people. In the dream you had friends, your girlfriends, your boyfriends, your children, your parents, everybody, and your enemies. Did they really exist? They did not exist. So if I use some Sanskrita terminology, lifeless lives, nirjiva jivas, they are there in your dreams. And as I told you in the previous episode, Jagrat is also like that. That there was a living entity other than you is your imagination. And if you go to a higher level of the analysis using Viveka Deepthi into the next level, you realize that you are the one and only one sentient entity. Everything else is appearing sentient. It is not. Like the body appeared sentient because of the reflection in that. There are other people, they appear to be existing. That is termed in the Vedanta or Viveka Deepthi as Eka Jiva Vada. There is one and only one Jiva. There are no multiple jivas. All other people who appear like jivas are nirjiva jivas, like in dreams. The question still comes up. I had asked my teacher saying, so there is one jiva. Is that right? Eka jiva vada. I said, my teacher said, oh no, there is not even one jiva in reality. That you think you are a jiva is also a delusion. You are not jiva, you are not a samsara. Jiva means what? Samsari who has sukha, dukkha, bhoga, transmigratory existence, punarjanma, etc., etc. You are not even all that. It is like you were never a jiva. Come on, I'm experiencing that, is it not? That is like that snake and the rope. Take the example of a snake and the rope. What happened in the example of a rope that was mistaken for a snake? Somebody came and looked at the objects falling on the ground and said, "This is a snake, this is a snake." And then all the sweat on the forehead and ran for his life and all that. A friend of his, in the form, a guru in the form of a friend came and a friend of his, "Oh, is this what you're thinking is a snake?" Lifted that and said, "This is a rope." What will the person who had got deluded that this is a snake think? Oh my God, I was wrongly thinking this was a snake. You got to ask that person, since when was it, until when was it really a snake? How did the snake get transformed into a rope? You'll say, hey, get lost, this was never a snake. Even when you are looking at it and thinking it was a snake and running for life, it was not a snake? No. Why? Because it became negated by good knowledge, wrong knowledge, that it was never a snake. Similarly, when you realize that this world got created, this world is not anything but you itself, yourself appear as the world. You appear as the world means what? You are not different from the world. Is the snake different from the rope? The rope was there as a substratum on which the thought of a snake got superimposed. So there was no real different one snake here and one rope there. Similarly, the world is not different from the person who is there as one single entity, because we have understood that there is variance in this, the multiplicity of this. We have to tentatively accept. Tentatively means what? Because you're saying that the world is real and it's made up of sour and all that, we accept what is called a tentative root cause, called the original Chaitanya Swarupa plus the one that is the Māyā, that is the deluding power. If you cross the deluding power, you don't have this effect of that Māyā that is showing up, like the audience are showing, are under the spell of magic. Whereas the magician is not under the spell of magic. If you cross that and understand that, you will not have that addition, the association with deha, prana, manas as me and mine. Therefore, where there is sorrow, where there is worldly happiness, is not in me, but it is in the mind. And if you dissociate, disconnect with the mind, you will never say, me, I am happy or I am not happy. I am always bliss, constant bliss. The reflection of the bliss is showing up in the other objects. So, what is it that we have done here? We have shown a lot of logic where we have understood that I am not something that is constantly complaining about me being unhappy or anything like that. It is the mind I am looking at. Let the mind be there. I am not worried about it. If you do that, the person who has got that logic and differentiated oneself from the binding elements of nature will increase this power of intellect. If you think like that, if you analyze that using the Dakshinamurti Stotram, the thoughts that are there running in the brain are going to actually make a transformation to your neurons in the brain. That is what the medical people are saying. What is it that is used to make proper decisions? It is called the front part of the brain, which is called the prefrontal cortex. The PFC, prefrontal cortex, develops when you work on these tattva, these theories, these so-called subjects, and understand that to the fullest extent. It even grows higher if you have understood it and communicated to others like you teach others. Therefore, Dakshina, as I told you, is intelligence. And if you physically map it to some elements in the body, it is called the prefrontal cortex. And that develops as it when shown by even chanting Dakshinamurti Stotram, let alone knowing the meaning. Knowing the meaning and chanting will do it even better. Understand the meaning and realizing it in oneself is going to be the ultimate. And telling it to others after you have realized it, to make sure that the others who have to go, who are walking on the same path, going on the same road, you give them the directions. You will be able to control all your emotions, all your thoughts. You will be successful making the right decisions in life, and you will develop the power to take the right decisions when you come to crossroads. That is for your actual uh, youth. You have to realize what is the reality of what is being seen, what is the unreality of what is to be seen, what is it that gives you success, what is it that gives you the indicator for success. I told you is happiness, and that happiness is possible if you go through the understanding of this shlokas. There is one thought that comes: if Ishvara is the one who decided everything, if is everything predetermined? Predetermines what? I don't have to do anything. Everything, I'm under the spell of all of these things, so I don't have any control. It's not so. Because you did your bad karma in your previous birth, you are undergoing the results of that now. That time you did not have free will, is it? You had. That is why you went in the wrong direction, because of your past and past and past and past karmas. It's like building up one after the other. Now you have an opportunity as a human being to change that course. So there is free will. Will is not free. The self is free. So if you identify that with the Chaitanya Swarupa, you will always be going in the right direction. When you translate it to the real way in which you use your daily life, when you look at this body as a chariot, what is a chariot? There is, in an olden way, there are horses that draw the chariot. The horses have a vision. They go in certain directions based on the road, and the noses of the horses are tied with a with reins, the rope. The one end of the rope is tied to the horse, the other end of the rope is tied to the is at the hand of the driver, the charioteer. Why does the charioteer drive the chariot with the horses? In order for the boss and the customer who is sitting behind me, called Yajamana, he wants to go somewhere. It's what happens in Uber. When you want Ola or Uber, you say, take me there. The driver only behaves and does what you are wanting to do. So, if the person who is at the back seat, like me, who is a jiva, want to go from one place to the other, he must have a good driver. So if you replace the driver with buddhi, that buddhi with Ishvara Swarupa or Guru Swarupa, he will never fail. So, what is the way in which you should make your decisions? Do as Guru has indicated. Perform the actions that are indicated as an advice to you by the teacher, by the Guru, who is always knowledgeable about the entire thing that you need to know, and he is deeply interested in your welfare. Ko guruhu adhigata tattvaha shishya hitaya udyata satatam. Don't worry, that is the translation that I have just said. Shishya hitaya, he is deeply interested in that. Replace that decision making buddhi by what the Guru has said, you will reach your destination with no uncertain terms. So that is for practical. This is about the shloka number 2, where we said that Guru is the root cause of this universe, and the Ishvara, Dakshinamurti, is the root cause of the universe, and Dakshinamurti is showing up as the Guru. Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Next shloka that says, if you say so, then who is this so-called illuminator? Who is the person who is going to give me instructions to do this and to do that and all that? How does he give instructions to me? I have ignorance here in my mind, in my intellect, in my brain, not the brain, mind and intellect. How does he make changes to my intellect and brain? How does he transform it? How does he do that? And there are tools and techniques that are used by the Guru in order to do that. How does he do that? Is the next in the next shloka, and it says, "Yasyaiva sphuranam sadatmakam asatkalparthagam bhasate sakshat tattvamasi iti veda vachasa yo bodhayati ashritan yat sakshat karanat bhave na punaravrittir bhavambho nidhau tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye." So, what is the means of direct realization? What is it that is necessary to be realized? That I am not anything but happiness. I'll repeat what I said. I am indeed pure happiness, Ananda, Sat Chit Ananda. And if that is to be understood, what about this so-called objects and shine and things like that that are appearing here that I had mentioned in passing in the previous slokas? The appearance of the object is not of its own because it doesn't emit light, emit knowledge, emit consciousness, sentiency. So if a dull object has to be seen, there has to be an external light or similar to light that is called consciousness or sentiency that is impinged on that object. Then only that object appears. How will the moon appear? If there was no sunlight falling on the moon, will the moon appear? No. That is because it doesn't have light of its own. Therefore, whatever objects that you see in the world are reflected light or reflected awareness of something that is true nature of awareness. So, asat, that's something that is insentient, something that even may not exist, they appear to exist. How? Means that is because you have the reflection of the true nature of that self-effulgent Atmaswarupa, that is the self. That light, so-called in metaphorically, virtually called light, is impinged on that mind that takes the form of the object, and therefore you feel that the object is understood, object is illuminated. Therefore, if you realize that whatever you see, take the case of eyes only, the physical eye, what is captured by the eye? Only color and light. Nothing else can be captured in the eye. Like a camera, will the will the uh, will the book and the pot get into your eye? No. Only the light of that, the image of that can come into your eye. So if the light comes into the eye, the light has to come from somewhere else, reflected from that insentient book. Where is that source of light if you observe? In the physical light, there is this candle light, there is the LED light, there is floodlight, etc., etc. That light comes and falls on the book, that comes into the eye. But if you look at it as enlightenment, understanding, capturing the knowledge about something, that virtual light is that one and only light. That is called Chaitanya Swarupa. That is me. That my own self-effulgent self illuminates what is called the mind that has taken the shape of the object. What is meant by mind that has taken the shape of the object? Let me understand. Let me tell you about this theory. When you look at an object outside, how do you realize that this is a book? The mind goes through what is called the sensors and takes the shape of the object, and the shape of the object is there in the mind, that is illuminated by the Chaitanya, and therefore you call it as knowledge, experience. Now, if you realize that this person who is there as the world that is seen, he is the one who is the root cause of this world. It is no different. Where is it communicated and how is it communicated? How does the Guru communicate? The first of all, the aspirant, the student should approach the teacher with great devotion. That is there in the world called ashritan. Ashraya. Ashraya means what? You go with in a humble manner to the Guru, prostrate before him, beg him or request him to say, I would like to know about the nature of myself. I would like to know about the nature of the world. And while doing so, he allows you to ask any questions under the sun. No question is a taboo in Vedanta, even for you. You can ask any questions. So he looks at the seriousness of the aspirant, and then he communicates through what is called the background, which is called the basis. The pramana for all of these things is in the Vedas. Sakshat Tattvamasi. Sakshat, directly from the Vakya, from the words of the Vedas, he uses the expression Tat Tvam Asi. Tat Tvam Asi is that which is the Mahavakya. What is the Mahavakya? There are very short words, very short sentences. There are many sentences, thousands of sentences called Mahavakyas. There are four celebrated Mahavakyas. Celebrated means famous Mahavakyas. They are the ones for each Veda Shaka. Tattvamasi is in the Chandogya. Now, Tattvamasi is that which indicates that you, who is this so called limited self, who are thinking that you are limited self, trapped in the body and all of those things, and that which is infinite, that is there, called Sarvajna, Sarveshwara, Ishvara. The content in you is the Chaitanya Satchidananda Swarupa. The content in him is also Satchidananda Swarupa. Therefore, you are the same identity. All you have to do is to remove the differentiating behavior. This is called Pratyabhijna. Tattvamasi is showing by saying that that person who I am thinking is limited as a transmigratory existent person is no different from that Chaitanya Swarupa who is never born, never delimited, always in a state, is itself bliss, not state of bliss. It is bliss itself, existence itself, and always having infinite power of consciousness. Therefore, if that has to be communicated, it is necessary with the background of the Vakya, the sentences in the Vedas. Veda Vachasa. This, in fact, reflects the true nature in which the same examples are given in the way in which the Brahma Sutras have been written. Athato Brahma Jignasa Janmadyasya Yatah Shastrayonitvat. Shastrayonitvat. This is necessary to be referenced through what is the pramana, what is the true means of knowledge, authority, and that the Guru knows, he has understood it, he has realized it with his nature without having any doubt whatsoever. Therefore, he is not going to be any, he's not going to have any problem in communicating what his true nature is to you, who is also having yourself as its true nature. As I told you in the previous example, The true nature of this so-called individual is not different from the true nature of this Lord. Therefore, he doesn't have a problem in communicating your true nature because it's also his true nature. Therefore, it is possible to communicate for a person who has to go in a right manner, not otherwise. If you go with an arrogant, I want to know, why don't you tell me? He said, sorry, I don't know. He'll say, if you approach like that, he will go into his shell and say, I don't know. But if you approach him with the right manner and go with an ashritan, with a bhakti, shraddha, then he will tell you all the things that are necessary to take you from where you are, that is in the jiva form, the understanding you are a limited entity to where you ought to be. I'll repeat what I said. He is the one who is like the Uber driver who says he takes you from where you are to where you ought to be. Where you ought to be is in Satchidananda Swarupa. Where you are is where you think you are, that is your limited entity. Therefore, yeah, what happens? What if I know about this so-called Tattvamasi? What do I get? Do I get money? Do I get fame? Do I get children? So no, it is much more than anything that you can ever look for in the entire different lives. Yat sakshat karanat. What if you realize it in oneself with direct knowledge? Na punaravrittihi. That is, you will never come back into this so-called circle of sorrows and happiness in the world, which is always causing trouble for you. Once you realize that with no uncertainty, with absolute no doubt, then you will not get back into the cycle of samsara or this world or this trouble of this unhappiness. Is that not what everyone is looking for? I want happiness. I want no sorrows. I want happiness unmixed with sorrow. That is not sorrow mixed happiness. I want pure happiness. And that happiness that I have should be infinite. Infinite means what? It is always highest. There should be no other source of happiness that is higher than this. That is the param, highest. Not only that, what if I give it to you for 1 minute, the highest happiness, and cut it off like a flash in the pan? No, I want it to endure. Endure means what? Long duration. What is meant? What is the limit? The finality of long duration? Forever. What is the way in which you can realize it? The best way of realizing it, Guru says, hey, Mr. So and so, hey, Madam so and so, you are not this limited entity. You are today, here, and now that infinite bliss, infinite existence, and infinite consciousness. That is what is going to give you that confidence in that teacher, the Guru, who is the instructor, who is the preceptor for the real aspirant to realize the true nature of the self, that is Ananda Swarupa. That Swarupa is no different from Guru Swarupa. Why? There is only one Chaitanya Swarupa, and I already mentioned it a few minutes back. It is worth repeating again. If the Guru should tell you who your true nature, most inside, the most private, understood true nature of the self, if he has to tell you, he should know that, is it not? If he has to know, he has to be inside in order to know. The other way of doing it is he should have been the same thing. If you, that Satchidananda Chaitanya Swarupa is no different from the Guru Satchidananda Chaitanya Swarupa, and he has realized his own Chaitanya Swarupa, what's the problem in communicating what he is to you and who is what you are to you? That is how he makes you realize and go through all the necessary sequences through which you are taught the meanings of all of these things, which realize it internally and cross the cycle of births and deaths. The most important thing that anyone would fear is, I don't want to be non-existent anytime. That is called death. That's what you believe in your even the corporate life also, no? I don't want a pink slip. I can resign and go away, but I don't want to be dismissed. I don't want to be thrown out. I want to be always present. That is in real life also. I don't want to die. Everybody at the time of death, do you know what is most important? Not your dress, not your car, not your house or anything like that. How can I live for another so many years? All the rest of the things that you have acquired, the certificates, that the cups of things that you got, all that fade into the background when it comes to facing death. So fear of death is the one that is really bringing down the nature of people, calming down people. And by realizing your true nature, you will cross the fear of dying. You will never. And there is no fear of again coming back to the sorrow. The sorrow is completely gone. Even if you see sorrow outside, it is not considered as my sorrow. I don't feel that I am unhappy. There can be sorrow in the world. If you are a true realized person, if you realize that kind of a sorrow outside or see a sorrow outside, you will naturally get the trait of alleviating that sorrow by teaching him what is the right way of understanding what is not, what his true nature is, or at least tentatively give him something that appeases him and relieves him of the tentative sorrow. That is called daya, that comes from a true nature of a jnani. So that kind of a guru is that person whom I pay my obeisance to. Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. There was also this experience of I and mine that came in between, is it not? When you say, I have a attachment to this body as me or mine, anything that happens to the body, plus or minus, good or bad, is attributed to my good and my bad. The best example is that given for a mother and a child. If the child is falls and is hurt, the mother feels the maximum hurt in her mind. She feels so bad, as if it is more than she hurt her own self. Why? Because she has a deep attachment as mine in that child. When you say I and mine, aham and mama, or mama and aham, mama means mine, aham means I. If there are attachments to this, then the attachment is towards an object that is not you truly. If the deha, the body is not you, I have an attachment to the body. Anything that happens to the body, plus good things that happen to the body by putting scent and by putting soap and all that, I feel happy. If something gets cut, I feel unhappy. But it's the body, no, means that is attachment to the body is what makes you feel unhappy. Similarly to the mind, all things that are sorrow, happiness is all in the mind. Gita Shastra shows that in the second chapter when Krishna opens his dialogues talking about the Sthita Prajna Lakshana. I'm not going to that now. Sarvan Partha Manogatan is what he starts with as the dialogue of opening statement for Gita. Gita Upadesha, really starting with Sthita Prajna Lakshana. Not to go into that level of depth, just understand that happiness, as far as the worldly happiness is concerned, is all in the mind. Sorrow is like that. So if you detach from your mind, you will not say, I am happy, I am sorrow, like that. That happiness and sorrow are like pluses and minus, the waves that come. You have to be equanimous. Now, if you say my and mine, in a different context, Jagadguru Bharati Tirtha Mahaswaminaha quoted the example of how you should resolve, how you should sublimate, make it a relieving thing rather than a binding thing about when you say mine, mine, mine. When you say this is mine, you also have a situation like this is not mine. You have a partiality between me, mine, and not mine. That is not going to relieve you. If you say mine, it is binding you, I told you. I cannot get rid of the habit of mine and mine. What me and mine? What should I do? No problem. In which case, tyaktavyo mamakaraha is what I said in the beginning. You have to get rid of the mama bhava, mine. Otherwise, if you cannot do it, kartavyo mamakaraha. Kartavyo mamakara means do it. Well, is it not the opposite? But sarvatra kartavyaha, sarveshu kartavyaha. That mama should be there in everything. Then also you get relieved of the partiality. This is just an instruction to say that if you develop me and mine, when you see the commonness that Satchidananda in you is not different from the Satchidananda in the others, you have what is called Sarvatmya Bhava. You will reduce that feeling of opposition, negation, negativity, and all that, and you feel calmness in your mind, and that is what is going to lead you to world calmness, world health, and that is what is the prescription that is given as youth. As you go forward, you develop that ekatma, sarvatmya bhava. You will really feel calm in the space around you. You will in fact be helping each other around. So this is what we have as what we have seen in the shloka number 2 and shloka number 3, and where we have seen that where you get the delusion is there in the body, mind, intellect, and all that, where we have wrong attachment to. Just like we have a wrong attachment to objects outside, which is not there, like a seashell, which you considered as silver, that silverness is not there. The silver property is not there. The real silver is not there, but you think it is silver. Therefore, you get the delusion. And if you know the true nature of the substratum, then you will not have a problem about the nature of the sorrow and happiness that are changing in the world. So, this is perhaps one of the most important things that you have to understand, that the Guru is the one that gives you the knowledge through the Mahavakyas of Tattvamasi, that relieves you from the cycle of births and deaths once and for all. Na punaravrittihi. With this, I complete shloka number 3. We'll go into very interesting part of shloka number 4 in the next session. Namaste. Yatkritam tat yatkarishyami tat sarvam namaya kritam tvaya kritam tu phalabhuk tvameva madhusudana. Shri Sadguru Charana Ravinda Arpadamastu. Om Tat Sate.